and also the Israeli government's stated aim of neutralizing Hamas, 30,000 terrorists. The challenge is, first of all, it's a very small area, 25 miles by about 8 miles, very heavily built up, a lot of high-rise buildings. And secondly, they're thought to be 2.2 million civilians in the area as well. And the Hamas terrorists will be hiding. And also, there's a vast array of tunnels under the Gaza, I believe, are up to 199. And also, the Israeli government's stated aim of neutralizing Hamas, 30,000 terrorists. The challenge is, first of all, it's a very small area, 25 miles by about 8 miles, very heavily built up, a lot of high-rise buildings. And secondly, they're thought to be 2.2 million civilians in the area as well. And the Hamas terrorists will be hiding in buildings, hiding amongst the civilian population. And also, there's a vast array of tunnels under the Gaza, stretching for many, many miles, where Hamas will be, and maybe that's where the hostages are as well. Fighting underground is really the most challenging thing that can be done, although Israel does have some experts in this particular type of warfare. One of the really horrific things, certainly frightens me no end, is the likely tunnel fighting that's going to happen in Gaza, because I assume that the hostages and a number of the Hamas fighters will be in the tunnels. Anybody who's read any of the accounts of the tunnel fighting in the Vietnam War and the horrific activity of crawling around in small holes in the dark, sometimes many hundreds of feet underground, is just horrific. Although the Israelis do have specialist trained people to do this, the Hamas fighters will know those tunnels inside out. No doubt they'll be booby trapped. No doubt there'll be fighters waiting around every corner, as it were. But these are very extensive tunnels covering, many, many miles, many different tunnels. And the Israelis are going to have to clear them all to make sure that they've got everybody. So it is a horrific prospect in place, and takes very, very brave men and women to operate in that environment. Let's hope that they get on with it, get it done quickly. But it is something that I'm sure, when it's all over and the stories come out about it, will amaze and terrify people, as the stories of the fighting in the tunnels in Vietnam did and still does to those who read up on them. It will be very difficult to identify who the terrorists are. They're not going to be wearing uniforms or badges with Hamas written on them. So basically, Israeli Defense Forces need to go in and comb virtually every inch of ground in Gaza to hunt down the terrorists, who are not going to be making life easy. And because there's so many civilians around, the chances of civilian casualties are very high. And because of the type of things that the Israeli Defense Force will have to do, search every building, some of these high-rise buildings are many floors high, they'll be booby-trapped. There will be fighters, around the corner. So there is only a certain amount that modern military technology will get you in this sort of fight. At the end of the day, it's going to be the men and women of the IDF virtually fighting hand-to-hand with the Hamas militant terrorist fighters. And because it is so difficult, because it's so challenging, that is why it will be brutal. It could well be bayonets fixed and people literally fighting in very, very close proximity. And when it comes to fighting underground in the dark, it is horrific, even just thinking about it. But the practicalities themselves make it even more devastating and dangerous. So in this sort of street warfare, and I saw a little bit of it in Syria back in sort of 2017, 2018, in places like Aleppo, where rubble is everywhere. People are hiding, in cellars and underground. And It is, but it is just a horrific way, and trying. I'm sure everybody is trying to reduce civilian casualties, but with so many people around, undoubtedly people will get caught in the crossfire, will get caught in airstrikes, etc., etc. So it's not something that's going to happen very quickly. It's going to take weeks rather than days, and sadly, there will be a lot of casualties, I expect, on both sides. The Israeli Defense